Welcome back to Play Action Fantasy Football. This is Jonathan here with you guys going over our Week 14 tight end rankings. We're getting closer to the playoffs. It's getting more and more intense in the fantasy leagues. Hopefully everybody's doing very well. Now, before I get started, if you guys would like to go subscribe and give us a little like real quick, we would greatly appreciate it. And definitely subscribe because we got a lot of stuff coming out from rankings, starter sits. So you definitely want to get in on this action. So hit the subscribe button and we'll go ahead and start this. Number 1, we're going with Travis Kelce at home against Buffalo. Travis Kelce's due, man. He hasn't had a touchdown the last 2 weeks. We all know what Kelce does. I'm putting him up there at number 1 against a decent Buffalo defense. They're not bad, but I definitely think this is a week for Kelce for sure. Number 2, we're going to Sam Laporta at Chicago. This is a great matchup for Laporta. He's been playing awesome last week. He had 9 catches for 9 attempts, 140 yards, and a touchdown. And this week, he's going up against Chicago, who is number 30 against tight ends. They have a bad defense. It's a great matchup for him. Sam Laporta there at number 2. Number 3, TJ Hawkinson at Las Vegas. Hawkinson has been having a tremendous year. He's averaged 16 points in the league throughout the year, and that's the highest out of all tight ends. So at Las Vegas, it's a no-brainer. Him there at number 3. Number 4, we're going to Taysom Hill. He's moving up in the rankings quite a bit. He's going to be at home against a good Carolina defense. However, Taysom Hill he's a multi-threat. He's not a dual threat. He can throw the ball, run the ball, and catch the ball, which is crazy in fantasy. So you got to get Taysom Hill. Put him up there at number 4. Number 5, George Kittle at home against Seattle. Seattle's got a very mid defense. They're not that great. However, I will say, and you might want to note this, is Kittle did not have a good last game against Seattle. I think he only had about 4 or 5 fantasy points, which is not good enough. So he's going to have to step it up, but they're going to be at home. Brock Purdy's been in a good role, so look for Kittle there at number 5. Number 6, David Njoku at home against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense, they're they give up a good amount of points, but David Njoku now has Joe Flacco throwing the ball. Before, they didn't know who was going to be the quarterback. DTR, Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker. There was a bunch of circulation around that, but now they know Joe Flacco is going to be in there, and we saw what he did. He threw over 40 passes, I believe, for the Browns, which is not normal for the Browns whatsoever. So David Njoku, his stock is going to be rising now as the Browns are going to be passing the ball a hell of a lot more, and David Njoku is definitely a part of that. Now, number 7, I'm going to Jake Ferguson at home against Philadelphia. He had a good game last week. He had 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I think that's pretty good. Nothing outstanding, obviously, but it's pretty good for sure. And against Philadelphia, who they have a good defense, but they like to give up points to tight ends for some reason. They're number 20 in fantasy against tight ends. And I don't see Ferguson slowing down at all. So Dak Prescott will be finding him. Ferguson there at number 7. Number 8, we're going to Cole Kmet at home against Detroit. A nice little rivalry there with the Bears and Lions. Detroit has a good defense, but just like Philadelphia, their weakness is tight ends. Now, the only issue is Cole Kmet's very inconsistent. He could have a very good game, and he could have a 3-point game. So he's very inconsistent. We'll see how that plays out, but I'm still going to put him up there at number 8 with a lot of potential this week against Detroit. Which brings me to number 9, Gerald Everett at home against Denver. Now, you want to talk about a great matchup? This is a great matchup. At home against Denver, 32 against tight ends, terrible defense. And Everett, he's coming back off injury. He played last week, had a good week last week. Last week, he had 4 receptions off 5 attempts for 44 yards. Second game back. And also note that the Chargers only won 6-0 in that game, and it was terrible weather. So with that being said, I got to put Gerald Everett up there. He's going to have a hell of a week against Denver. He could potentially score higher than some of these other guys up here ahead of him, but I just won't put all my eggs in that basket. So I'm going to put him there at number 9. Number 10, I'm going to Dalton Kincaid at Kansas City. A hell of a defense, especially in Kansas City. But at the same time, Kincaid is such a big part of this offense. They do have Dawson Knox, who has the ability to come back this week off IR, but I don't think that's going to affect this rookie's points quite too much. So I definitely like him there at number 10. Number 11, we're going to the questionable Dalton Schultz. Now, I say questionable, but it's looking pretty good for him. He's going to be at New York Jets this week. He didn't play due to a hamstring injury last week, but he should be back this week, most likely. And against the New York Jets, who have a decent defense, I still think C.J. Stroud is going to be finding him as he comes back and gets involved in the offense. So Schultz is definitely up there at number 11. And number 12, we're going to a guy who's usually ranked higher, but I'm going with Evan Ingram there at number 12. He's going to be at Cleveland, who is number 1 against tight ends this year. Cleveland is not allowing much points to tight ends, and I don't see that changing this week against Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville might be hitting Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, those receivers out there, but they're not going to be hitting Ingram like they usually do. So I'm going to put Ingram down there at number 12. However, he's definitely got a high floor. Number 13, we're going to Dallas Goedert. That's another guy who is questionable, but he is pretty much probable. Again, I want to remind you guys, we record this on Monday, so we're not too sure exactly how those injuries will play out the rest of the week. So keep that in mind, please. But at the same time, Dallas Goedert's looking good, like he is going to play. He sat the last 3 weeks with a forearm injury, but he did have a limited practice last week. So it's definitely looking good for him. Him at Dallas this week. Dallas is a very good defense. However, the Eagles' offense is even better. They're a top-tier offense, and Goddard's definitely involved in it. So we'll see exactly how much time he gets coming off this injury, but I definitely like him there at number 13 at least. Number 14, we're going to have to put Kyle Pitts there. Somebody has to fill the 14th and 15th spot out. I'll have to put Kyle Pitts in there. Excuse my stuttering, but he's at home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, they have a decent defense. They do give up a good amount to tight ends. And I do honestly think that Kyle Pitts is a hell of an athlete. So I think he has a lot of potential. So I got to put him there at number 14. Number 15, we're going to the same game. We're going to Cade Otton. They're going to be at Atlanta, who has a great defense. But again, they're one of those teams that they're number 28 against tight ends, and they're number 1 against running backs. I'm not too sure what they are with receivers and quarterbacks, as Cameron usually handles that stuff. But I will tell you, Atlanta has a good defense, and they like to give up points to tight ends. So I'm going to have to put Cade Otton in there at 15. He went 0, 0, and 0. 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns last week. Not very good at all. But this is going to be a comeback week for him, I think, against a rivalry, a good rivalry against Atlanta. So look for Cade Otton there at number 15. And that's going to do it for our Week 14 tight end rankings. I hope you guys enjoy. Again, this is Jonathan here with you. If you guys can dislike if you really want to, but subscribe and also comment. Let us know what you think. We want to hear if you guys agree with me, if you disagree, whatever the case may be. Let us know. We're here to talk to you, be interactive. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend and have a good one.